how would you like to achieve your first million? And today we have Andrew Wittman with us, and he is the CEO and founder of Mental Toughness Training Center. So, Andrew, tell us, and this is going to be polemic, what are the 5 steps that you recommend entrepreneurs in order to make the first million?
Welcome to Unstoppable Podcast with Harry Sardinas, inspiring conversations with influential millionaires, investors, thought leaders, entrepreneurs who are making a massive difference with their innovative products and services, and sharing the challenges and wisdom of how they sold their first million.
Right. Well, it's like I said before, it's way more than 5 steps. It's it's an infinite number of steps, and you just got to keep taking one after the other. But I would think the first thing is that it's not about the money, man. You got to figure out, like I said, there's a million ways to make cash. You could do it by washing windows or putting roofs on a house. You could do multi-level marketing, and they're all good ways, but they might not be your way. So the first thing is to figure out, and a million is it's not enough, because you're going to find out when you make your first million, you get there and you feel like this really made my life more comfortable, but it's not life changing. I mean,
absolutely.
Right. I got to put my 3 kids through college.
You don't even know.
Still struggling. Right. Is right. So I want to say, I have a 300-year plan, which I started in 2007. So the first move is that a 300-year plan is because it's multi-generational. It's got to be so big that I never get to the end of it.
Wow.
Right? If you don't have
That's amazing.
And if you don't have that kind of target, you're going to stop whenever you get to where you are, and then you're going to find out that it's not that. It's that you get there and you'll be like, that's all there is to this. Because what happens in the brain is dopamine is produced because you're achieving something. The second that you achieve it, it shuts that drug off, and now I don't feel good anymore. That's why you have that empty feeling whenever you had some kind of success or you hit a target or a goal. So I like to look at the first step is go watch the movie Wizard of Oz. I'll start with that.
Wow.
Right? The Wizard of Oz, right? Think about this. Everybody had a final destination. It was the Emerald City. Where are you going? Their 300-year plan, Emerald City. What does your Emerald City look like? Right? And then Dorothy, Scarecrow, Tin Man, and the Lion, they all were going to the Emerald City, but they all had a purpose. So that's the next thing I would do. Step number 2 is figure out what your purpose is, right? Why Scarecrow wanted a brain. Dorothy wanted to get home. They had to have a purpose because they're on this yellow brick road and there's like a bad weather and there's flying monkeys and witches are trying to kill them and poppy fields, and all the obstacles in life to get to their Emerald City are stopping them. Why would they go through all those hard things? Because they already decided what their purpose was. And then the last thing I would say, or the third thing, would be what's your identity? Who are you? Mm-hmm. When you strip away everything, when you strip away, like you're not, I'm an entrepreneur. A lot of us like to use that label, I'm an entrepreneur. But what if that went away? Then who are you? Like, who are you when you're not an entrepreneur? Who are you? Are you, well, I'm a dad, or I'm a husband, I'm a family. Who are you when that's taken away? Like, you can't have anything external. It's got to be internal, right? So what's your Emerald City is number 1, your ultimate target. What's your purpose? Why you going there? Number 2. Number 3 is what's your identity? Number 4 is you got to build a system. And we hate to use this word, but it's discipline. You have to be disciplined, because whether you 100%. Feel like it or not, right? You have to have this system in place. It's routine. It's got to be your default mode that I get up and do these habits. I call them habit stacking. These things every day, whether I feel like it or not, we do them, because the nervous system doesn't care about your goals. The nervous system doesn't care about your purpose. The nervous system doesn't care about your identity. Your nervous system is like a puppy. It just does whatever you trained it to do. So number 4 is have that habit stack. And I guess the last thing, the 5th thing would be that use pressure as a diagnostic tool. Stress and pressure is not your enemy. Stress and pressure will tell you where your system is weak, right? It'll tell you. So don't get mad about pressure or stress. Like, you better embrace it and love it, because it shows me where I need to course correct.
It's a sign.
So when I get pressured, I'm like, oh, I'm feeling it.
I'm
here.
excited.
That means, yeah,
it's
I'm
a problem
here,
to solve.
Right, exactly. That's how we should be, right? So I guess there's the 5 right there, right?
Andrew, I love your 5 steps and 300-year plan. The other day, an entrepreneur was, we already interviewed with 500 millionaires in this broadcast, and one entrepreneur was sharing story about a man that he was offered a lot of money for his company.
Yeah.
And he didn't want to sell it. And he's just a normal person, a community guy. And and everybody was around him and said, look, man, they already give you a very good offer. It's very good value for your money. They even pay you more than what it's worth. And the guy, well, I don't know if I want to sell it. And what happened, it was exactly what you described. It was not a 300-year plan. And the guy was in a conflict because he's thinking, look, if I sell my company, I'm gonna become a multimillionaire in my own neighborhood. Who are gonna be? These people never would talk to me. My community, the people
Right.
around in the neighborhood,
Right.
and I am part of the community. He's always feel that he's one more, right? And of course, he employ a large amount of people in that community, and but he is like one of them, and now he's in the position of exiting his company, and he's thinking who are gonna become or who are gonna be exiting this. And the guy, can you believe he was battling and confronting the exit for a company, something that very rare. No, it's no. That's the dream of all entrepreneurs. Okay, I do my company and I exit, and I
Right.
make a lot of money, and I go to the
Right.
beach. That's what everybody thinks. But
Right.
to be honest, the beach is boring. After 3 days, 1 week, you are there,
Right.
and,
Three
and
days
you're a
max, like one day,
nobody.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you are a nobody. So
Right. I
talk
think that
about
goes back to
purpose.
identity. Yeah, that goes to
Hmm.
identity, not even purpose. Like, who are you when that company's gone? Like he said, he didn't know, he was struggling with who he would be in the community. He hadn't even made those decisions yet. So I would tell everybody that's hard cognitive work. You have to do that work on the front end, figure out who you are before that happens. See, if he already knew who he was, then you could go through these phases of life and phases of business, the life cycle of the business, and you could come out the other side and be very successful. But that should have been so. And here's another thing: don't get into anything unless you know how you're going to get out of it. Like a lot of entrepreneurs, we never think of that, right? I know.
100%.
So this, yeah, this is my kind of my when I was a federal agent, right? And I was like the agent in charge of Nancy Pelosi's detail and Hillary Clinton, and like so, I'm in charge of taking them in somewhere. I can't go into a room unless I know how I'm getting out of there. We don't go in anywhere unless I already know the way out.
Oh
So
wow,
that's
that's a
another
great
thing.
analogy.
Yeah, so you have to do that with business. You can't like never start a deal till you figure out because we get emotionally wrapped up in how great this deal is and the things that I want, but you never think about how do I unwind it and get out? Where's my exit? How do I get out of here gracefully and leave better than when I got here? Leave all my employees better. So and we just closed on a deal. We had my sons bought a pharmaceutical manufacturing firm. They
Wow.
had it for 3.5 years and then they sold it. We were very profitable, right? But they put all these systems in place. We're working. I mean, people are like, when do you take off? Well, you don't take off. When you're an entrepreneur, there is no days off. There's no time off. You're just constantly thinking about, these systems, these processes. How do I make it better? And then, of course, somebody's always trying to blow a hole in your ship, right? Stop blowing holes in my ship, right? All the things that happen. But you have to have a way to get out of it before you even get into it, because otherwise you'll be trapped like your friend, and he doesn't know that he could get out of it. Or if he does, he feels guilty because he got out of it. And that's not growth, right? So if you have to stay somewhere because you don't know who you are, you're stagnant. You're actually dying. You're not growing because things in nature are either growing or dying. Harry, you know what I'm saying?
100%.
Yeah,
But then
man.
it's difficult, Andrew. It's not straight forward. Like, for example, people like me, right? I started a business. My first business was in property. We managed to sell for 5 million. But I have a problem and I solve it for myself. I could make a little bit of money. Then I start to solve it for another. And here we go. I was in business kind of by accident.
Yeah.
And not even start to think who you are. I'm thinking how I'm going to pull this off and make it sustainable and make some profit, right? Which is if you become entrepreneur by accident, and most of us, this is the traditional path. The first 2 years we are just battling how to make this work, and then after it's
Right.
working, you grow the company. After you grow the company, you end up that or I remember all I have in my head, I want to make a million, want to make a million, want to make a million, want to become a millionaire. I remember the first time we sold the million, I didn't even realize. The accountant told me, and I'm like, uh, really? And it was not such a big deal like I thought it is gonna be.
No,
You
it's
make the
not.
whole story in your head, and something deeply comes, and it's exactly what you're talking about, right? You start to think, especially when you failure, right? When part of my
Mm.
process, I thought that I was a big shot, that I was a big businessman, and I started to open other business, whatever. Well, I opened a restaurant in Berkeley and lost over 200,000 pounds in that venture, and lost my girlfriend that I had back on the day. It was a huge disaster, and then I start to have this conversation for the first time in my life, Andrew, what I really wanted. I realized that I didn't want to be in the restaurant business anymore, at
Right.
least in this form, because I don't want to be Monday to Sunday in a place that I had
Right.
to
So
be
what you're
right.
talking about is I call it target elimination, right? So get clearly defined. That's the Emerald City. I want to clearly define my target, because what you're talking about, you could spend your whole life saying, do something to say, all right, that's not it, right? That's not for me. And then you do something and think of all the time and the effort and the girlfriend that you lost, all that you put into that to find out that this isn't it. So
It
I
was a
would say
lot,
slow,
2 years of my
right?
life,
Yeah, 2 years,
big
which you
time.
can never get back, right? So you can reframe it and say what I learned from it. But
Mm-hmm.
what you should
It
be
was big
teaching
lesson.
entrepreneurs is not getting into anything, nothing, until you do the cognitive work on the front end.
I
What's my
agree.
identity? What's my purpose? What's my target? You can make money a bazillion different ways, and a lot of them come with a lot of sorrow attached to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can make riches, but there would be sorrow attached to it. And I'm not trying to get into that, right? People think if I just make the money. Here's the thing about money, right? Okay, Harry, money is only makes you more of what you already are.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't know who you
Amplify
are,
who you are.
you find out, and then and what I do is I design, like Inner Armor is the system that I have that's out. It designed, you can engineer your own identity. Who do I want to be? And then you take the neuroscience and use that to build my identity before we ever even walk out the door, before it hits the fan, or before I wasted 2 or 5 years of my life, right? So every entrepreneur needs to do that work on the front end before you jump into the listen, because what happens is we get in this dopamine loop of
Mm-hmm.
it's almost like gambling, right? The
Mm-hmm.
next opportunity. And if I don't get on this right now, whether it's the crypto, we got to, they just passed this new crypto bill. If I don't get it right now, it's going to skyrocket and I'll be left behind, right?
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with the stock market or this, right? So everybody should just like take a breath and figure out who you are first, then what your purpose is. Like, what is the thing that you're built to do?
Mm-hmm.
See, because I would do what I'm doing right now. I do it for free. In fact, I did it for free a lot of times. I'll still do it
Wow.
for free if it's
Mm-hmm.
the right thing comes up. I'm going to go help somebody because that's who I am. And that's
Mm-hmm.
what I love to do. And because I solve that high level problem, I get paid for it.
And then, Andy, we have a great story of one entrepreneur that was interviewing this broadcast, a guy from New Zealand, and he become really wealthy in his business at a very early age, right?
Yeah.
And guess what he did? He bought this big house in the mountain, which is technically was the dream, and he bought that car, and he described in this podcast that he was there looking at the window and thinking, if this is all what it really is, this is really what I want to be. Guess what happened? Took a wrong decision. Something happened in the market. He lost everything. He ended up in the sofa of his mom after having everything that
Right.
he's
Having
supposed to
everything.
have.
Right.
And you hear all the time people make a million, lose it, make a
Yeah.
million, lose it, make a million. So clearly they have capacity to make money. So
Yeah.
why this is happening? And there is a pattern there. And the guy to tell you the whole story, right? Finally, he did this work that you're talking about, and now he lives in a yacht traveling around the world in a huge yacht, and he spent 6 8 times running all his businesses from that yacht. And when he gets
Yeah.
tired of the yacht, he buys a big caravan and drive all over Europe with
Yeah.
the partner. And
Right.
6 months, 8 months, whatever. When he gets tired of that, then he buys a bigger yacht and do the same thing. And he
Yeah.
realized that this is what he really wanted.
Right.
And until didn't get that clarity, he couldn't actually build a business, build something that was meaningful, that have a purpose. Because what he did before, yeah, again, what you're talking, which is very profound. He set up a goal. Okay, my goal is to have a big house, this and that, and then by very early age, he already got everything, and he's like, what's going on
Now what?
now? I'm not
Right.
even
Yeah. Now
happy.
what?
I don't even
Yeah.
happy. I don't want
Correct.
this thing. What I'm gonna be looking, standing at this mountain all my life? What is
Right.
this?
So if you're not happy before you had money, you're just going to be more unhappy, more not happy, right? If you're a happy person with no money, you're going to be even happier with money. So here's the thing with money, Harry, it's all it is gives me capacity to live my identity and my purpose. That's
Mm,
all it is, my
mm,
capacity to live my purpose and my identity. And if you
mm,
don't have one, you're just gonna.
mm,
We see it all the time with like celebrities and stuff, where they, or the curse of the
mm,
lottery they call it. You ever
mm,
seen that where the person comes
Yeah.
out of the trailer, they win the 100 million, and like 3 years later they're back in the trailer because they didn't do any of this work, right? It just
Yeah.
made them more of what they are, and then they're gonna end up back where you were again, like you said, lose it on your back, and you make it, and then you lose it, and then you make it, and then you lose it. So until you do the mindset work, I think it was Einstein that said this. I don't know. He gets credited for a lot of quotes, but I think he said that like the level you can never go beyond your level of consciousness. So if you have
Mm-hmm.
like a defeatist mindset, you'll never go beyond that. If you're just a survivalist, you'll never go beyond that. If you have an average mindset, you'll never go beyond that. If you're a tyrant, you'll never go beyond that. But if you're an
Mm.
elite warrior, if you're an elite resilient champion, an entrepreneur that could kill it, now you're solving problems at the highest level. So you have to raise your mindset, and it's very hard when every dollar has an emotional impact.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I think, Andrew, what is very profound, and I think it's for the benefit of our
Mm,
listeners and everybody listening to the broadcast, is your lucky day today because Andrew shared something really, really powerful and it's resonated with me. And if you start from this base, your life and your journey is gonna be way easy. I love this concept, Andrew, that you share. Do your plan for 300 years, meaning
mm,
that you know your purpose, you know what you really want into a bigger picture, right? And trying to achieve that, you're gonna have some successes, you're gonna have some defeats, but because you have this bigger purpose that outlasts you, right? You will
right.
always have this engine, this fuel. You're never gonna feel like you set up for a goal and after you achieve the goal and now you're empty again.
Yeah,
Or
you'll never be empty. I'll never be
because
empty on this life. Correct.
there you
And another
go.
thing, Harry,
Yeah.
like think about this, right? So, because my plan is so big, it's 300. I mean, people will think you're crazy, and I very
Yeah, but how you
rarely
come
ever
up with
tell.
that? How you come up with that? Because this is not the normal thing that
Well,
people
I
plan.
looked around. Right now, I looked around, and I was like, "Do you know who Paris Hilton is?"
Maybe it happened to you. Maybe it happened to
Yeah,
you. You
no, no,
achieve
what?
big, you achieve
No, I looked
success
at.
on the first
It
time, and you
will.
say, "What happened?
No,
Did that
that
happen
didn't
to you?"
happen. No, no,
Ah,
it didn't happen.
wow.
My mom and dad were missionaries. It didn't happen to me. But I looked around and I said, how could Paris Hilton run around doing whatever she's doing? And then
Mhm.
then I studied that, right? And I looked back at her family. Her great grandfather had a 300-year plan to build
Oh,
this hotel
wow.
empire, right? And then
Wow.
like the
Wow.
Vanderbilts, Anderson Cooper for CNN. He's a Vanderbilt. He doesn't have to do the job. His great grandfather, the Vanderbilts, built the railroads, and right.
Mm-hmm.
That guy had a 300-year plan. The Rockefellers, they had
Mm-hmm.
300-year plans. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
kind of mad at my grandparents for not having a 300-year
Mm-hmm.
plan because now I got to work, right? So, but I thought my
Yeah.
kids aren't going to have that problem. But think
Yeah.
about this with the 300-year plan, like you said, they're defeats, yeah, victories, yeah. But either way, I'm kind of like not on
Mm-hmm.
a roller coaster. I
Mm-hmm.
flatten out the ride because it's 300 years. So if I
Mm-hmm.
have a victory in a 300-year plan, yeah, that's great. I have a victory. We're moving in. But if I have a defeat, we're like, yeah, I had a defeat. So what? It's on a 300-year plan. Like,
Mm-hmm.
think about it. If you have a bad day on a 300-year plan, what does that mean? Nothing. I can have a
Mm-hmm.
bad week, I can have a bad
Mm-hmm.
decade, and it means
Mm-hmm.
nothing in light of the 300 years. You see how I've just totally reframed to whatever happens to me. I'm above it. I'm outside it because my plan is so big that
Mm-hmm.
it has enough tolerance for any of the. I mean, I could go bankrupt and start over
Mm-hmm.
again
Mm-hmm.
and use it as
Mm-hmm.
a reframe as it's part of my 300-year plan. Are you
Yeah, I
following
have a
that?
friend. I have
Yeah.
a friend in London, a property, very wealthy property investor,
Mm.
and he told me a long time ago. We were talking about, and he told me, I said, "Look, you invest in property. This is what you do. I invest also in property." And I remember he told me, "Yeah, Harry, but I'm creating the dynasty." And
Mm.
and I'm like, "What you creating?" And he told me, "Yes,
Yeah.
Harry, I'm creating a dynasty. Let me break it down to you. What it
Mm.
means that my children, the son of my children, the son of my children, and the son of my children forever will never,
Yep.
ever, ever have to work again. That's what I'm doing."
So
And
300-year
I'm like,
plan.
wow,
Yeah.
man,
Right. Yeah.
that's amazing. But he actually need to break it down for me because
Yeah.
I said, look, you invest in property. I'm doing the same thing. He said, yeah, but
Yeah.
you are
No.
investing in property. I'm building a dynasty. I'm like,
Right. Two different. Yeah.
what comes with this one? And
Right.
good, very wealthy, and a good friend, right? So we described that some people realize, and actually he's very active, right?
Yeah.
And now he's all and still is onto it exactly for what you said. He's doing for a bigger purpose than himself. And when you have that picture in mind, you have gasoline, you have fuel.
Right.
I always say in my conference that money, it will never change your, it won't make you happy, but
No.
fulfillment will make you happy, because especially when you change or transform other people's life, could be from your
Correct.
family, could be for people that you
Yes.
love, could be for your own community. This conference that I do all over the world, we talk with in front of a lot of people. But as soon as you make the difference in somebody else's life, you get paid with better currency than money. You get paid
Way better.
with appreciation, love.
Yes.
It's a different currency. You don't even get sick. You see, if I
Right.
tell you
You don't get sick.
how
Correct.
many
You don't
people
get sick.
every day wish me well, and
Yes.
wish that I stay good, and pray for me and do this
Yeah.
kind of thing, and
Right.
it's amazing. It's more, they send you an energy to you. You don't even get sick. It's unbelievable. But it comes from the discovery, Andrew, because in my case, like I say, it has been a journey in order to build this bigger vision than myself, right? It didn't come
Mm-hmm.
overnight. And
No.
different, I had to discover it myself, because I've been on those processes that, number one, I achieved something, like my first business, and then after I make a million, I'm thinking this was the whole big deal, and you have this million and you kind of empty, and you don't even happy. It's like a normal day to you, and I'm thinking, wow, why I've been making the big deal out of these 2 3 years, and then I didn't even notice it. My accountant had to call me and tell me, "How are you doing?" Well, I said,
Yeah.
"What do you mean?" He called me.
Yeah.
I didn't. I was so into the business that I didn't even
Correct.
so know it. And then on the other hand, when I realized that, in the flip side, when I have a project or a business that didn't work, that failed miserable, then you have a lesson attached to it. You have a learning process. When at least you start to find out what you don't want, because I didn't knew what I wanted back on the day. But the big failures, they give more clarity. You start to think back, uh, what you don't want, and
Yeah. And I'll tell you,
eventually you find what you
yeah.
really want.
Right. That's a target elimination. I want to think whatever, but you never really learn anything on the wins. You only learn from the defeats, right?
Mm-hmm.
The win, you
Mm-hmm.
think you're great. You congratulate yourself. I won. I'm the man. I know what I'm doing. No, you don't. You just got lucky, right? You backed into it.
Absolutely.
The stars align, right? But when you lose, you
Absolutely.
take time and do an after action report, and then you have to really look at it, right? But I try to do that with the wins too, right? Because a lot of people just want to go on the win. Well, how did you win? How was it? What could I do better? What could I do different? Where can I make this, and constant improvement? My partner, we have a radio show. One of the clips that just went out was talking about, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, and how we would never, like, how did Alexander Graham Bell, why did he invent the telephone? Because the telegraph wasn't broken, right? So the telegraph was a win. Everybody's communicating across the planet, but he went for something better. And there's only very few people that'll take a win and make it a bigger win or a better win. And smart people will become smarter by trying to do more and continuous improvement. And I think we don't want to, as an entrepreneur, when you get to the million or the 2 or the 10, and you, like you said, we're going to take the pack off and we're going to the beach. You're like, literally, you're like 3 months from death. Like, you literally, I mean, the stats are, it's a hard statistics that say that you will die within 3 years of retirement. If that was your identity, and that you have no purpose anymore, you're a dead person. You're going to be dead. And think about any of the highest performers, like whether it was coaches or senators, heads of state, any of these people, big business barons, whenever they retire, it's very quickly before they're in the grave. I mean, all right, so today, right, Ozzy Osbourne just passed away. He literally just did his farewell concert 3 weeks ago.
Wow.
3 weeks. He was like, this is the last of my concert. And he's dead today. Like, that's insane.
Yeah, you see, you put it on the space. That And then, Andrew, the other thing that we need to look at, because now looking back into the perspective, I remember that because a lot of people talk about how to deal with failure, nobody talk about how to deal with success.
Right.
And this is what happened, kind of by accident. And honestly, I was lucky. I thought that was a big deal, the big businessman, but through my property business, I just got lucky. Meaning, it was a big market, big problem that was solving. It
Yeah.
was not so much competition out there, and we grow really fast. And to the point that my manager told me, Harry, go home. We don't need you anymore. The whole business was running autopilot, and my team was building the business better than me. And I'm in my
Yeah.
house doing nothing,
Right.
uncomfortable, receiving
Yeah.
all this money and not doing anything. Only my manager comes once a month to tell me what she was doing with the company because she's running and doing better than me. So I'm inside this house watching movies, taking all this money, so uncomfortable after working so hard the first 2 years to pull the business, to grow the business. And I'm so comfortable in my house that then I sabotage myself. I go there, I open a restaurant because I'm kind of uncomfortable in the situation I am right
Yeah.
now. And then you make a huge mistake. And then when the big lesson comes, and then the whole journey started. So, Andrew, what can you do in order to entrepreneurs don't experience what I did? I mean, I learned in the hard way. Don't get me wrong, these 2 years,
Right.
I lost a lot of capital that I actually had to make back. My other business almost collapsed the property because I was not even looking at
Yeah.
this. So um, a lot
Well,
of things
that's one of
happen
the
because a
that's a
lot of
cheat
things
code
happen.
is to find guys like you. Like you need to go like entrepreneurs if they could get in your circle and become, hear your experience, they can learn from you and be a mentor mentee relationship.
But
That's
how
what you
can
want to
we
do. Like,
avoid that, Andrew? How can we avoid these hardships? Because it was tough. It was 2 years of my life that I couldn't see
yeah.
my family. I was Monday to Sunday. Um,
Right. Well,
it
what
was
were
it
you
was
doing? Like you were
really
laying on
really
the couch. What were you doing? You're on the couch and you're enjoying your cat, but you weren't doing any work on yourself.
exactly rather than
That's what I'm
go
saying. Right.
exactly. I agree with you. Rather than go at least I don't know work on myself or
Right.
travel or maybe
What it not even
meet
try
someone
like
like
who are you?
you.
Like it's got to go back to
Exactly,
right. What's
exactly,
your
exactly,
identity? And that's
exactly.
why I start that with every
That was
person.
that was my problem. That was
Yeah.
exactly there. I'm watching movies because make me happy, feeling
Yeah.
miserable because I'm not
Yeah.
anybody anymore. My
Right.
manager is even better than me. All this money is coming. What was the whole
Yeah.
point to do this? And I feel so angry, so miserable with myself. Then I go and I just sabotage, and it
Right.
was a
And then you're
bad very.
self-destructive. Right.
Oh my god! Yeah,
No,
you
it's but
literally
who
said
are you,
destroy
right? So
yourself.
that's your so like my identity statement. I teach people to write this in a single statement, right? I'm a man of excellence who always keeps his word. That's who Andrew is, whether he's the CEO of his company or a father or a PTA volunteer or little league coach, right? I'm a man of excellence who always keeps his word. So that means I have to give maximum effort to everything I do. I'm not a perfectionist. I used to be, but I'm recovered from that, right? Because being a perfectionist just sets yourself up for failure. But I will give my absolute best effort. And then always keep my word is what I aspire to, which means I can only give it to certain people because if I just gave it out all the time, I'd be running myself ragged. So, but that's who I am, right? No matter what. And so everything in my life has already been pre-decided based on who is Andrew. He's a man of excellence, always keeps his word. So every decision I call it's pre-made. It's a pre-decision. So Andrew could not sit on the couch watching movies feeling sorry for himself because Andrew's a man of excellence, who always keeps his word. So I cannot sit there and now I'm not saying I don't watch a movie, but that's a work rest cycle management. That's not a downward spiral. So I'm going to have to give best effort to something, right? So figure out who you are, then you don't get caught in these things
Mhm.
of because
Because
I've
you
already
literally
decided.
sabotage yourself. And this
Yes,
is the story that
100%.
you hear that people make a million losing,
Over
make
and
a
over
million losing,
again.
make a
Yeah.
million losing.
Because they
And
didn't do the identity work. They don't
and
know
then
who
you
they
hear
are.
you hear this statement, is more easy to make the money to keep it. Well, if you want to keep the money, you need to find out who you are.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it doesn't matter how money, like you said, amplify who you are. But
Right.
if you haven't found yourself, what is your really your real purpose? What do you
Yeah.
really are, and what you committed? It will even if it doesn't work, you will sabotage
Yeah. Yeah.
yourself and take a wrong decision in the wrong moment, and sometimes it's painful, especially if you have employees, if you have people around, and
Yeah. There's a lot of fallout. I call it, collateral damage, right? And when you,
Mm-hmm.
especially as an entrepreneur, because you're not just affecting your life and your family, but your employees and your customers, right? And your
Mm-hmm.
vendors. Like that was
Yeah.
when we exited, when we left the pharmaceutical business, we're thinking about not just our customers, but our vendors and everybody else
Mm-hmm.
that's being affected
Mm-hmm.
by this. And how do we,
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Mm-hmm.
and actually we sold the business to a customer because if we had just pulled the plug on it, they would have went under. You know what I mean? Like, so it was like, hey guys, this will make sense for you if you take this in a vertical, right? So it's a win-win. Well, I call it the triple win strategy. It's a win for you, it's a win for them, and it's a win for all the stakeholders, whether it's the customers, the vendors, or whoever. In our entrepreneur business, it could be a stakeholder, could be a family member. The stakeholder could be your landlord because you can't pay them rent, right? That's the stakeholder, right? I mean, you know what I mean? Like you're affecting a lot of every decision you make affects a lot of people. So take the time and figure out who am I and where am I going? What's my purpose? Why am I on this yellow brick road? What's my ultimate target? So when I make those, listen, if you don't know where you're going, how could you even know you're making the right
And it
decisions?
has to be bigger than make a company grow, make a multimillion and exit. It has to be something bigger than that because what happens is when you achieve that, you're
Then
empty
what?
again.
Right.
you
100%.
you you don't even want to sell it, like the story that was described in
Right.
in this
Yeah.
in this podcast.
Because then who would I be if I didn't have this business? Who would I be then?
And how people would see me and how people would
Yeah, how would they
perceive.
see me? How would I
Yeah.
fit in? How would I write? These are all things that have to be done on the front end because when it's like your friend at the back end of their life. And this is very hard when you're in your 50s or 60s
Mm-hmm.
to sit down and do this work because you've lived your whole life. That's what they call this imposter syndrome. You've basically lived your whole life based on a set of unvetted beliefs, which turned out to be false. And now what? You have to either admit, which humans do not like to do this, that we've lived our entire life on lies or falsehoods, that our core beliefs are wrong, or we have to fight and just keep powering through it no matter what the destruction is for us and those around us, because I'm so invested into this now. Um, so make those corrections early on as an entrepreneur and make them often. You can't just do it one time. You have to stay on this stuff like every day. Otherwise, your identity will slip. Andrew's a man of excellence, always keeps his word. And every day I reaffirm that 100 times a day, right? That's who I am. Am I being who I say I am? If you don't build that program, that base code as your default, you're going to drift. And at the beginning, it might not be a big deal, but I see this all the time. You've probably seen it too, Harry, where guys, they started out strong and 20 years later, they're way off in left field and off the track. And you're like, how did they get out there? Because when I knew when they started, they were great, but they just kept going down that same track. And
Yeah,
now
I met
they're
people
way out
backstage. I
there.
met people
Yeah.
backstage in 2018 that worth 400 million. Today they are billionaires.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how this is actually happen?
Yeah.
But then Andy, you shared something really powerful that I want to re-enhance with our audience, which is work on yourself. Something that I
Hmm.
didn't do, lack of knowledge. I didn't even know that there was something that I needed to do. But our
Right.
life as an entrepreneur, especially when you open a company, at the beginning nobody knows you, so the clients want to pay you less, the supplier want to charge you more because nobody knows you, and then you have all these negative
Right.
emotions that you need to that it get storage
Yep.
in your mind, in your unconscious mind. And if you don't release or you don't work on yourself to number one, release this negative emotion, sometimes even can become physical pain.
Oh
People can
yeah.
have cancer. It was one guy
Right.
here that in this broadcast he shared the story that he had three business turning over a million each, and he was vomiting blood. And he
Yeah.
decided, Harry, I'm running this business is running me, and he took a plane and he went to Thailand. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? He shared the story in this in previous episode. So the whole point is that is working on yourself when you're an entrepreneur is bigger to have a company, make it successful, make the money. Still, that doesn't mean, yeah, you as the business is working, but you as an entrepreneur, if you don't do that personal work and because I start honestly to work on myself deeply after the collapse of the restaurant. I'm thinking there is something wrong with me. This doesn't make sense. Why actually I did that? I didn't have to. What happened? So I started to work on myself. I started
Yeah.
to my path in the personal development. Today I'm actually in this industry. and inspire, motivate thousands of people around the world with conferences. Exactly, talking a little bit about these topics and how the 360 life from the entrepreneur. We believe that the entrepreneurs, and they need to be wealthy, healthy, and happy. And how many wealthy entrepreneurs you know that they die of the heart attack? So something
Yeah,
happened
no,
there.
it's
Something
yeah,
happened
yeah.
there. So
Right.
so it was
Right.
not about it was not the money. He actually
Yeah, I
have a
know.
lot of money. So
Right, right.
why he's divorced? Why he's
Well,
not
and I'll tell
taking
you,
the children?
I call it like
Why?
I call it life on eight cylinders, right? So there's eight parts of our life, and when they get out of whack, and like it's spiritual health, it's physical health, mental health, emotional health, social health, which is good relationships. Then it's professional health, then it's financial health, and then it's cultural health. How do I affect the
Oh
culture?
wow, that's very
Most
powerful.
people,
I love it.
yeah, but most people just want to go straight to financial. Like it, but listen,
You
if
have
you haven't
seven
taken
things
care
more
of
to work with.
yeah, like if you don't start with your spiritual, which is your identity, who are you at the core? Like I'm not talking about religion. I'm talking about your
Mm-hmm.
your spirit. Who
Mm-hmm.
are you? Right? If you don't have health, if you're not healthy with that, then you can't be healthy mentally and emotionally. And then, like you just said, then physical health is right behind it because then you're going to get sick. And we already know this. That I mean, the stats are crazy. 90% of all doctors' office visits are stress induced. They're all 90% of everything, like heart attacks. More heart attacks happen at 9 a.m. on Monday morning than any other time. Like
Wow.
that's a legit stat. Like, you know what that
Wow.
tells me? People get up after the
Didn't know
weekend
that.
and then they go driving to work, and then it doesn't matter what time zone you're in. Right? It's at 9 o'clock on Monday morning. Most heart attacks happen. Right? So if you don't take care of these cylinders in order, financial should be like next to last, right? Do your professional one before. So first is your spiritual, then get your mental, emotional, and physical under control. Then your family relationships will fall in place. But it's going to be hard for you to, if you can't get emotionally control of yourself, to have good relationships with other people. And then go to work on your professional skills. And I tell people this all: if you're an entrepreneur, whatever your field is, whatever problem you're solving, if you're not reading an hour in your field every night before you go to bed, what are you doing? Like, you need to read in your field articles, you need to read journals, you need to read studies. Like, I read an hour every night before I go to bed, and that's how you become an expert in what you're doing. But if you're not staying up
Wow.
with that, stop doom scrolling and looking at like social media feeds or binge watching the Netflix. You need to be reading studies, read the latest thing that came out in your field, and that's how you're going to increase your professional cylinder, right? Then the financial will automatically follow because people are going to want to know, who's that guy who knows all this stuff? Like, and how do you know it? They're going to, right? So, and then your cultural cylinders, how am I affecting the culture around me? How am I affecting my neighborhood? Like your friend with the community, he affected his culture, but that should be the last thing. He didn't start with his spiritual, so that when the cultural thing is his identity now, his community identity is really who, so his spiritual's out of whack. His cultural's good, but his spiritual one was dead. Does that make sense? So we have to have all eight of them across the board,
Align.
in a line, right?
Mhm. So, Andrew, being entrepreneur, we discussed before we were sharing before the broadcast that
Mm.
only 1 or 2% maximum of the whole total population are
Yeah.
entrepreneurs, right? So, and most of them, hopefully, they're listening the broadcast. So,
Yeah, right.
the so why do you think that, or in your own, I saw that your son is an entrepreneur. You
Yeah.
also, so how did it came from your family? Do you have more members of your family that they have been entrepreneur? Or how this inspiration came from you? Do you read any book? Do you
Yeah.
watch a TV show? Do you have a friend? What
Yeah.
was your role model? Why you decide to become an entrepreneur in the
Yeah.
first place? Which is, like I said, we are almost in a species in extinction. We
We
are
are.
very
I know.
we are very leaders. So why you decide to be one of them?
Yeah. That's a great question. Now, look, my mom and dad were missionaries, right? So they're kind of an entrepreneur. They're not making money, but they're out
Oh
on
my
their own,
God,
right? They're
social
out on
like
their
a
right.
social
Yeah.
entrepreneurs. Oh,
Yeah.
that's even
So,
worse.
like, yeah. Right.
No,
So,
I'm
you
just
know what I mean?
joking. Just joking.
No, it
I'm a
is
big
kind of
fan.
because you don't have it. Yeah, no, it's true. Because I mean, I grew up in a town called Wagga Wagga in Australia, in New South Wales, right? It was a very small town out in the middle of nowhere. and my parents are out there, and I'm like, so that we already kind of have that frontier spirit, if you will, right? That's what I call the frontiers. So we already had that, but I didn't like not having anything. You know what I mean? So I'm like, well, there's got to be a way to take this and like use it to like, so I could like, because listen, any passion project, even no matter if you're passionate about something, if it's not profitable, you cannot sustain it.
There
No
you
matter
go. It
how
will die.
you have to have right. It's it has to be profitable or it cannot be sustained. So it's not about I'm chasing
the
money.
moment
But look,
will die. Whatever purpose,
yes,
it will die straight away.
correct.
Not
So
sustainable.
it's not that I'm being greedy about it, but look, you have to pay me what even you know, the labor is worthy of their hire. You still need to do, you know, fair value for fair work, right? You know what I mean? Otherwise, this thing will die. So an entrepreneur, yeah, I don't have to be greedy, but you do have to make it profitable. If it's not profitable, it's not going to be sustainable, right? So I guess that kind of came from that missionary mindset. Plus, I wanted it to be profitable because it's not sustainable. And I really, you know, and so like my kids got it from me, I guess. I just don't like working for
So it
somebody
could be that you
too.
saw a reflection that maybe you saw how hard your parents work, and you know how they were very big impact that in the community and everything.
Yes.
But you felt that somehow they were not rewarded properly
Yeah,
for the
they
job
weren't.
that they were doing.
Right, they weren't. That's one of their
And you
cylinders
thought
was
that
office
was
financial.
unfair, right?
Yeah, I don't know if it wasn't fair, but it just wasn't. Look, I didn't
You don't
want
want
to raise my
this
kids
life.
I didn't want my kids raised that way. You see what I mean? Like, so,
Yeah, but
I don't blame them.
the vehicle.
Yeah.
How do you know that that the solution to that was become an entrepreneur? Where do you find it? Do you open a book, a friend?
No. I mean, I
How
guess
you choose the vehicle then?
I went in the Marine Corps, and then
Oh wow.
I did all. Yeah, I lost 50 pounds.
That's
at
why
boot
you
camp.
talk a lot about discipline.
Yeah, right. Because I was in the Marine Corps for 6 years. I was in the infantry and I did 2 combat tours with them, and it was great. And then I got out and I went into law enforcement. You know, and so I guess I don't like people telling. It's funny because you're in the Marine Corps, you don't like people telling you what to do. I like order and I like structure, but I don't like it when people are not critical thinkers above you that make bad decisions. Is that right? So I like to and if you do your work, like I said, reading an hour every night, you're not going to make bad decisions in your profession. You'll get very sharp and very quick, and you'll spot the fakers a mile away. And what'll happen is if you know, I'm not saying you can't be in corporate, but you'll either rise up in corporate or they will get rid of you fast because you're exposing a lot of nonsense, right? So I guess that's kind of what, you know, after I did all my time in the military and law enforcement, I was like, I know too much, if you will. I mean, you're making too good of decisions. You're a critical thinker. I've sharpened this skill to go work for somebody that doesn't have that skill set. So, and I like my kids. They went and they bought this company when they were 24 and 22 years old. The two of them, they bought this pharmaceutical manufacturing firm.
Wow.
Not just
My
brave,
goodness.
but I tell people, and they're like, they're just kids. And I'm like, I'll put any one of them up against any 50-year-old because they're critical thinkers and they've been critical thinkers for 22 and 24 years because they were trained like that from the womb. Like they know how to think their thoughts and they're critical thinkers and they have emotional, they're mentally tough, resilient. You guys have never even heard of this stuff before. They don't even know any way different, right? So I would put any one of my kids up against a 50-year-old executive anywhere. They'll run circles around them because they've been doing it for 24, 25 years. I know that's not, you're biased. Yes, I'm biased, but that doesn't mean it's not true.
Yeah. And that, I think that you should feel happy and proud because, you know, what an amazing role model. I mean, your kids doesn't have to be entrepreneur if they don't want to, but
No.
because us, we have a certain gene within ourselves, right? That is gonna, and it doesn't come, it's not from inheritance or anything. It's just a special type of gene that is within ourselves. However, it's always need the spark, right?
Yeah.
Like for example, you were in the Marine Corps and you were doing this job with enforcement law, but one day these sparks shows up and you said, that's it, this is who I am and this is what I'm gonna do for the rest of my life. So luckily for your children, you kind of accelerate this spark. They have the gene, nothing to do with you, they're born with it themselves, have nothing to do with you.
No, because they could pick whatever they wanted to do.
Exactly. But I think that what you could what you've done for them is accelerate the spark, accelerate whether, like for example, my first business I remember was maybe like 31 when I started
Yeah.
around that, right? And I wish that I had the spark earlier when I
Yeah.
was 18 a year. The fact that my dad got cancer, I didn't have any money, so I got angry. I want to make money, and this is how I started the
Right.
property
Right. Right.
business.
Right. Right. I
Now
think
you
that
you
a lot
you
of
you
times that's how
yeah
it
yeah
starts,
yeah
right?
yeah. This is
Yeah.
that was my spark. You see,
Yeah.
and then quickly you find the vehicle, you open the book, do you start the property
Yeah.
business?
Right.
So you always need the
Yeah.
a push. And yours, any particular incident that happened in your life that ignite these sparks? Your children know because your children have you and they see you.
Yeah. Right. I don't know
So
if there was. I just like there's something, and you have it. You know it too, right? On the inside of you, Harry. You just know that you're not reaching your potential, right? You know there's greatness on the inside of you, and you know it's in there. And I think every human has this. I really believe that. I believe every human knows that. But a lot of us just tamp it down and hope it goes away because it's that way
it's
we
not for
medicate
you,
it out. It's
Andrew. It
not
was not an
uncomfortable, right?
external incident. It's just one day
Yeah.
you wake up and you said,
Yeah. No,
"That's
I
it.
just know there's
I
greatness
have
in me. I mean, yeah, I
I
think
have
I even at
enough. I'm
yeah.
gonna and that's
Yeah,
it. It
let's
was nothing
take the risk.
external.
No, I don't think so. I think it was just like,
Very good.
and I'll tell you what, Harry, I mean, I've never
We
really
have
stayed
50-50 in
anywhere
this
more than,
broadcast. Some people they have
yeah.
like you. Some
No, I
people
don't think so.
some people have the
Yeah.
experience like me that something happened. All of a
Right.
sudden they lost a child. They
Yeah.
have a family member that they cannot even look after,
Right. Yeah. No, I don't
and there
have
are
anything
money
like
and
that.
there are
Yeah.
so it was naturally. It was one day you just
Yeah.
wake up and you say, you know what, I done everything that I wanted on my
Yeah.
life when it comes to the
Let's
Marines and
go.
the
Right.
law and everything. But
Yeah.
this is it. I want the 300-year plan. I
The
want something
300-year
better for
plan.
my
Yeah,
children.
man. Absolutely.
Like your children, honestly, they working because they want to, not because they have to,
That's correct.
right?
They are. And right there.
They
I've almost achieved that,
probably
man.
they're
They are.
doing
They're
better
working
than
because
you at your
that's
age.
true.
Yeah,
They are. They don't
they're
have to
doing
work,
better
man.
than you being so young.
They
You know what I
are.
mean? And they don't
That's what
have
I told
to.
them.
They don't
No,
have
I told
to.
them that. They don't
They
have
do it
to.
because they want. So that's amazing coming from that space,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah,
now
it is.
you gonna have the 300-year plan, and now the children look at you and say, well, you know what? I'm not gonna do 500 years.
Yeah, they've
Let me
talked
spend a
about
little
that.
bit
It's like
more.
up to 750 now. I think it's up to 750 now, actually. I think
Yeah,
so.
yeah, yeah. So it's
Yeah.
good. It's good to have a family that whatever comes in the future, will work because
Yeah.
they want to, not because
Because we want to.
they have
Right.
to.
We
It's an
want to.
amazing
Yeah.
space. It's you can come up pure. You can come early to your
Hmm.
realization and to work on yourself so you can make something impactful in the world. So great example. Yeah, I'm very proud of you, your family, everything you have done.
Oh,
Well
thanks,
done.
Harry.
I applaud you. Yeah. I
Right. And
wish.
you know what? Thank
Well,
you for like pointing that because I really didn't think of that till you just said that they don't
mhm.
have to work. And I've already
Yeah.
achieved that part of the 300. Yeah, I
Yeah.
did, man. I didn't even think of it till you just said that. I'm like, that's so good because they
Mhm.
don't have to.
Mhm.
But they're all doing their stuff because they want to, and they're high achievers, and they're doing it out of purpose, not out of
Mhm.
grind. Not because they have to. So
Yeah.
thank you for that, Harry. I appreciate
Well
that, man.
done. Well done. And like I said, your children should be uh, that lucky and grateful to have you, right? And
Mm,
nothing wrong with my parents, but my parents, they are teachers, right? They were no
yeah.
entrepreneurs. They just have a job. So
Right.
I have to go for more toughest path in order to find myself. I
Yeah.
don't regret it. Uh,
No.
but
Although I've read,
have been
someone asked me that. They said if
maybe
you could go back in a time
that's
machine.
actually
Yeah.
the reason that we're speaking today is because of this.
Yeah.
What this podcast
Right.
is one of the reasons why
Yeah.
I want to create more awareness, and I don't
See,
want people
it's
that
so
have
good, man.
an amazing journey, and then I find you and people can hear your story even better,
Yeah.
and the whole thing
That's so good,
can
man.
take shape. So we never know,
Yeah.
but
We don't.
I congratulations. Yeah, I'm very proud. Last thing, Andrew, if somebody
Yeah.
want to find out more about you, about what you do, how people can find you, how this process works.
Yeah. So you can go to my website, getwarriortough.com/podcast for all your podcast listeners, just special for them. Don't share it. It's a secret for us and your listeners. So it's Get Warrior Tough, Get Warrior, like a warrior with a shield, tough.com/podcast. And look, there's no fence around me. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Twitter. I'm at Warrior Tough PhD. You could find me on Instagram. You could just
How can
Google
they
me.
find you
I'll
on
pop up.
LinkedIn, Andrew? How can they find you on
LinkedIn
LinkedIn?
at
Remember,
Warrior.
some people are listening in the car.
Yeah, LinkedIn is I'll just go Andrew D. Whitman or at Warrior Tough PhD. It'll come up. if you LinkedIn/Warrior Tough PhD, it'll come up, and you can connect with me there and DM. And listen, I always respond to my stuff. I mean, I used to say I'll get back to you in 24 hours, but nowadays it's like could be 72 hours with how many emails and DMs I stack. But I always like to try to answer everybody that reaches out with like something, not a spam, but if you actually have a legitimate, you just want to reach out or connect, I always answer. There's no because that's what the important thing is people, right, Harry?
100%.
Yeah, man.
And like I said, and get paid with better currency. There is
Yes.
a better currency than money out there. And when people experience this, is amazing. Become kind of addictive. And it's lovely. So thank you so much. And for all of you following the broadcast, see you in our next episode. How brave entrepreneurs like Andrew break the wall and achieve the first million. Bye for now.
Follow us for more interviews with world's most influential, audacious entrepreneurs that overcame challenges and adversity, providing you with the blueprint of how they sold their first million so you can grow your business exponentially.